Hello and happy Tuesday, October 3rd, the 30th anniversary of Black Hawk Down, the 30th anniversary of the assault on Mogadishu to arrest and apprehend Muhammad Al Fayed, who is the warlord that was operating in that city of Somalia 30 years ago today. I had already graduated basic training and I was waiting to go to. I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I was ready. We were in between. We had just graduated, so we could watch TV. So I was watching. I was a private. I was PV1, just not even a full soldier yet. Watching this unfold on TV, 1993, October 3rd, 1993. Shugart and Gordon, you have seen these. You have seen, obviously, most of you, a lot of you have seen Black Hawk Down. You've seen how um, the events were depicted by Ridley Scott, ironically. And as an E1, who had grown up in the military, who had been a third generation uh, serviceman. You hear the word hero thrown around a lot in our culture and sometimes in military. These guys were literally it. Um, Randy Shugart and Gary Gordon were the ones in the movie and in real life who roped down to save Chief Warrant Officer Michael Durant. They had requested so several times and got rejected because it was pretty much a suicide mission. But they were the only ones that could keep them alive until help got there, and they gave their lives to keep Chief Warrant Officer Michael Durant. Both men were posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. And like I said, as an E1 going through that, as someone who surrounded by military growing up on a military base in the Army, literally as a private, watching this go down and hearing about what they did. And trust me when I tell you, when you read the citation and you hear it from people that were actually on the ground and their commanding officers, I just I wasn't there, but there's just no way that the movie could ever do it justice. Those guys were the real deal. They repelled down in that situation, knowing that there was a good chance that they weren't coming back, but they did it to save that one guy, and that's the stuff they make movies about. The people who played these things in Hollywood are trying to get to what these guys really were. So October 3rd, 1993, it is indeed the 30th anniversary of the Battle of Mogadishu. So on every day on my not every day, but every year on my Facebook page, my personal one, I always post those two pictures every since I've been able to get on the internet. I don't care if it was MySpace or didn't matter. Every year I was able to post something on the internet. I made sure every October 3rd that I post something about those guys. So, all right, guys. Let's get a little bit of happier note. But like I said, those guys literally make me proud that I ever wore the uniform. So, Streamlabs, Sci-Fi Center tip if you want to donate and contribute. Vance, curious if you want an edit from this past Saturday. Be about 4. You know what? I don't think so. I think we're good. Because it was such a long segment. And it kind of blended into what everything else that we were talking about that day. I think we're good just leaving it as is. I mean, what do you think, Vince? Let me know what your advice is on that one. I saw it last night. I enjoyed it. I mean, I know we all knew, to be honest with you, we were talking about prior to even coming out that it wasn't going to make a lot of money, and it didn't cost a lot of money, which is a good thing. It's going to get its money back with PPOD and all that. I thought that The Creator was a good movie. I cannot believe that that's an $80 million movie. I watch movies all on the daily that have budgets that are twice that do not look that good, and that movie looked good. It had a lot of tropes in it. It had a lot of, like, if you've been watching science fiction for as long as I've had, for as long as some of you guys have, every cliche was in there. But in my opinion, it was done so well that I didn't mind. I didn't mind the whole end of the world thing. I didn't mind the whole soul searching thing, the humanity thing. You can use these things over and over and over again. It doesn't bother me. It's just how you do it. Are you doing it? Are you doing it and making and making it intriguing? Or are you just doing it as and it's just standard fare? So I enjoyed it. I think John David Washington did a great job in this. The only knock that I have on the creator is they touched on a lot of very big things, and they didn't always give those things the time. Like what they're exploring in this movie is big and it's thought provoking, but you only had, I mean, it's a 2 hour movie, it's just over 2 hour movie, but I thought it could have used a little bit more. I thought they brought up a lot of brilliant things that, and I can see where people would be like, who if you ever wanted to talk about a sequel, this is one of those movies to where I could see it. Everybody's like, "Well, this is a standalone." Fuck that. They touched on a lot of things on in this movie that you could explore for quite a while. So I pretty much enjoyed it. So, how you doing, Daniel Martin, Spider-Man? What's going on? Yeah, I just gave that to you. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. Hey, what's going on? Smash the like button. Yeah, like, subscribe, and share. YouTube lately, I guess they're going to start prioritizing live streams again, but the last couple of when I was watching Campia and I was watching a couple other people who live stream because I was wondering why my numbers, dude. I'm putting out, in my opinion, our Saturday night show has evolved into something that I'm a fan of now, and I hate the sound of my own voice. I think I sound like the Cookie Monster. I think I sound like a bad version of the Cookie Monster or a horse version of the Cookie Monster. And if Cookie Monster and Kermit just merge their voices, that's me. But we've been, these last 5 or 6 shows, the organization of the show, where we're going with the shows, some of the things that we're able to touch on, has been some of our best shows. And I was wondering, dude, why some of my shitty shows have really high numbers, and why do my great shows don't? And then I got, I got a friend of mine who, used to go with YouTube and do all these things with them. And he said that they're prioritizing a lot of different things, especially on certain times of the day. But I guess that's not working out like the way they thought it was, advertising wise and AdSense wise. So, and a lot of people aren't getting the type of views on things that they were. So they're going to make some adjustments. And that's why, I watched on Cappy to say, I usually don't bring up other YouTubers, but it kind of coincides with what my investigation was that that's one of the reasons why he stopped doing his show the way he did it, because YouTube wasn't prioritizing live streams. And for a little guy like me, I need all the prioritizing I can get. So I did some deep diving in it and found out that was the case, because I'm like, damn, I know that shows aren't sucking. I mean, like I said, one of the main reasons I have Vince helped me clip some of these things. So some of the conversations we've been having have been really good, but it's a YouTube thing. So there you go. So yeah, like, subscribe, share, do everything you can to get us up. Yeah, how many days was that? Was that what I think it was 26 days. I streamed for 26 fucking days straight. But the reason why I didn't do it last night is because I did Wrestle Dream. I watched. Oh, Wrestle Dream was awesome. Wrestle Dream was great. AEW's Wrestle Dream. The only knock I have against Wrestle Dream is there's too many matches. I can't do a 5-hour pay-per-view, man. I couldn't even do a 5-hour pay-per-view in my youth. And the reason, here's the thing, all of the matches were good. There are certain matches that I didn't need, and it would be a hard choice for me to get rid of. Like the Wilmer Yuta match, I think I would have dumped. It was a good match, but 5-hour pay-per-view, man. And by the time I got to FTR, which was an absolutely amazing match, I am convinced that FTR isn't capable of putting on bad matches. But that match took so much energy, and I'm like, then we got another match after that. And it's like, it's like there's just too many matches. They could have cut an hour off that show, and it would have still been just as good. But you know what? When I heard Edge's music, and they did a little vignette where he's driving through, I thought they could have skipped that and just gone straight to the music. But I thought it was cool. and he rolls over this thing that says rated R. Everybody just went just crazy, and then everything went black and went up again. I was not expecting to hear his WWE music or anything close to it. I guess they got a version of it, or we did a version of it that that they could play, and it's almost indistinguishable. It's you think you know me, and he just went bonkers, man. And Adam Copeland, Rated R Superstar, made his entrance, and that's a big deal. And I know he's 49 years old, but he's not William 49 years old. He's Adam Copeland in shape, not of the same species as me, 49 years old. He can still hit it. He can still wrestle. Him and Christian Cage are the same age. Christian Cage put on a great match with Darby Allin last night. These men are taking care of their bodies. They're not eating ramen and shit like I am. But so I did Wrestle Dream last night, and like I said, it didn't end until 9. And I had put tickets for Creator. We didn't go see Creator at 9:30. That's a 2-hour movie. So by the time I got done, I went out to get some food and everything. I was flirting with getting online, but I was just exhausted. And I thought, you know what? You guys got a lot of me. You had 5 hours of me on Saturday. That's probably more than my family would want to with me. So I figured I gave 26 days in a row in 5 hours, including that god-awful, abysmal, still have that foul duck taste in my mouth, 2 hours that I spent on Howard the Duck. So I figured you needed a break from me as much as I needed a break. So there you go. Hey, man. All these 20 and 30-year anniversaries are making me feel old, I know. But I'm not old. It's just, I looked at it, I'm like, dude, I just lived in a time where a whole bunch of shit was happening that's just now. And like I said, millennials and Generation Y, all these other guys, no disrespect to you guys, but there's something to be said for the world that existed prior to the one that I have now. Entertainment, everything, the stuff that we can compare it to now is just different. The way we get entertainment now versus the way we did it. We're always talking about Blockbuster, things like that. There are. I wish I could express to you the contrast in the environment that we existed in prior to the one we had, because it came on quick. It came on quick. I mean, you went without the internet in household internet to like literally mid-90s, and then all of a sudden, bam, AOL, Comcast, boom, it was all there. You went with DVDs and tape for literally up till the late 90s, and then all of a sudden streaming, LimeWire, all these things, everything became digital like overnight. So it wasn't like half of our lives we had one things one way, and then the other half we didn't. So we're not old. We were just born in a weird ass time. And like I said, a lot of these guys are being born into times where there's always been cable, there's always been the internet, there's always been streaming, there's always been cell phones. And I think a lot of that shapes our whole culture. It's just weird, man. But yeah, 30 years ago, man, there I was. Same, I was 9 in 1993. Yeah, there you go. How you doing, Azteca? What's going on? Happy birthday. You're officially 37 years old. Good, man. Listen, every spin around the sun is one you don't take them for granted. I think since 2020, I may have taken this shit for granted. I won't. I'm happily taking those extra years because the alternative sucked. Tupac's actually been dead. Yeah, he's been dead, 2 years longer than he was alive? Yep. And for that entire time, his killer was telling you he did it. Yeah, happy birthday. Clerk Influence 37. Yeah, it happened. And it's kind of like we kept kind of going back to it because even though it was just a topic on the stream, it's a bigger topic than just I was able to give it. When you're talking about, like I said, everybody, once you do something like Crisis, it's always going to be the threat of always doing it is there, and it just becomes lazy. I would like to see somebody come take a look at what they're inheriting and actually do something with it. Instead of just saying, "Oh, there's too much baggage," and just blow everything up. I would like to see somebody actually say, "You know what? Let's open up this bag. Let's see what's in it. Let's see what we can still use." Let's see what's in this bag versus what's in my bag, and let's see what we can make work. And I hope that that's what James Gunn's doing. As much as people want to throw throw fruit at James Gunn, to be fairly honest, I don't know what he's going to do. What he's given us in comparison to what he'll have to do when this time comes is nothing as far as information goes. I know I've already expressed that I want something different as far as his flow of information. I would like him to be fit when he's ready, I guess. But as far as that goes, I mean, I'm willing to give James Gunn a benefit of the doubt because I don't know what the hell he's going to do for the most part. Now, that benefit of the doubt is going to be from the safety of my own home because I'm exhausted with the way DC's done things, and I'm a little bit exhausted with the way Safran, and Zaslav has started this. But that's all fixable. The bad taste I have in my mouth when it comes to DC films right now, including the way some of the things have been handled by Safran, Zaslav, and Gunn, you show me something excellent. I see a trailer, or I see a premise, or I see something that I think I can dive into. I'm going to get a little bit closer. Now, I may not be Zack Snyder close because of the things that happened with the Zack Snyder story arc and not getting the proper ending of that. I'm always going to have that in the back of my head that the rug is going to be pulled from under me. But I'll get a little bit closer. And like I said, maybe I might be that guy that comes into the arena instead of watching from the safety of his own home. I'm open to that. Right now, I'm just not there. All right. I can't believe it's already been 11 years since Benghazi. One of the men who died in that attack, Sean Smith, was also a diplomat on an online game I play. Every year we do a tribute to the game. Yeah. Yeah, Benghazi. Benghazi was a tough one because the way embassies and everything are protected and where that was just, man. Anytime we're serving in the Middle East, no matter what capacity you are, you could be a cook, a low-level cook in a platoon. It doesn't matter. If you're serving in the Middle East, you're in harm's way. Make no mistake. Whether it's Qatar, Kuwait, doesn't matter. If you're stepping foot off a plane in Southwest Asia and you're an American, you're putting yourself in harm's way. I like the idea of conflicting ideology of the Western and Eastern world on AI. The Western world looking at AI as a downfall of civilization, and the Eastern seeing it as a salvation. Yeah, and the whole extinction thing that the Western world was afraid of. They show you, and I'm not going to spoil it, but they show you certain incidents that happen, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. I want to see more of that. But there's, like I said, the only fault that the movie has is that it gives you pieces of its brilliance, but it just you want more of certain people, you want more of certain things, and a little bit dive. And who knows? Like I said, I know he may not be for a sequel, but and with the money situation, who knows? But if I never get another one, it'd be kind of sad because I do. They opened a Pandora's box of things that I really want to talk about. Edge is in AEW. Yeah, Edge is in AEW. He made his debut at the end of Wrestle Dream last night. Edge is in AEW, and he signed a long-term contract. How you doing, Fun? The Edge AB was fucking awesome. Christian and Edge fight. Yeah, Christian and Edge and the Hardy Boys are all back together again. And right now, let me say something with Christian Cage. His heel persona this last 5 or 6 months has been some of the best stuff I've ever seen this guy do on the mic. Obviously, I mean, he's a legendary tag team, Edge, Christian, getting all that stuff. But the stuff he's doing with Darby Allin, the stuff he's with what's his face's mom, and he's making fun of people who are dead, and you want to slap the shit out of him, but he's bringing it to the top. And he's talking to all these people, by the way. Everybody he brings up, and all the dead people who've lost relatives. He's sitting down, he's having a conversation, and he's asking, "Hey, are you okay with this?" And everybody's on board with it, but it's just wow. You just want to like grab that turtleneck, But so yeah, this Wednesday night, obviously Edge has to open up that show. But it's going to be interesting because he's a big name. And I know Jade Cargill just left, and people are like, oh, it's a big deal. AEW is going this. Listen, Jade Cargill is never going to stay in AEW. And I don't know why Tony Khan says he was surprised. Jade Cargill was never going to sign, and was never going to stay. I think she used AEW as a developing stick to show that she could operate on a large stage instead of hanging around in indies, and she used that to get WWE, which is fine. Hey, she came in, she had a contract, she fulfilled her contract, she left. But people are like, "Oh, this is the biggest deal." I'm like, "Listen, dude, I've been watching wrestling since the '80s, and wrestlers been going back and forth for as long as I can remember." Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, WWE, Arn Anderson back in WCW. Rick Rude went back and forth several times. Big Boss Man. I mean, I don't know. So many people went back and forth, and the only time that it got stagnant was when there was no WCW, and everybody was forced to work for one federation. But now AEW is here. You have NWA. You have a strong New Japan. You have a strong independence, and these guys have places to go. So nobody going from one place to the other. And Cody going, that's a big deal, but Cody was already there, and a lot of that was legacy stuff. And I think Cody will be back in AEW before it's all over with. But you're going to see this now. People's contracts are going to go. People are always going to think the grass is greener on the side. Edge was a 25-year WWE Hall of Famer lifer, and he decided he needed to change the environment. So, and guess what? It's not the end of the WWE world either. It's just these guys. It's a business. It's a business. How many of you left your job when you thought, "Hey, I can't do anymore here," or I don't like it here, or I've always wanted that other job, and that other job opened up. It's what Jade Cargill did. But Edge coming through last night, no disrespect to Jade Cargill, was much larger because you've heard that sound. You know who this guy is. Edge, if you've watched wrestling, I don't care what federation you watch or favor, you know who he is. It didn't even matter that he didn't use the name Edge. You knew who he was. There are going to be people that come in, they're not going to, some of them are going to go Jade Cargill, some of them are not. Everybody's got to know who Edge was. They know. You heard that song. You didn't need, you don't need to call him Adam Copeland. You didn't even need to call him a Rated R Superstar, even though he has a copyright to that. But that was big. That was like CM Punk coming in. Everybody knew who this guy was, and now here he was right in front of you. So I enjoyed that. And like I said, the 14-year-old wrestling geek in me came out, and then we all knew it was going to happen. That was a horribly kept secret. Once they moved the Darby Allin and Christian Cage match to the main event, you knew damn well who was coming. And even knowing it was coming, it was still cool. All right, happy birthday, Azteca. Let's see. Yeah, man, it's like, dude, we've lost so many people. Some of them didn't even make it to 30. Some didn't make it to 40. There are people. I used to think 60 was Geezer, and then I'm like, dude, there's like a lot of people in. Eddie Van Halen didn't even make it to 70. It's just it's a mindset at this point. What are you doing right now? What makes you jump out of bed and say, let's get this fucking day going? That's where I'm at right now. All right, a lot of happy birthdays. I would sing happy birthday to you, but I think that song is copyright. I mean, his movies were typically good for the most part. I mean, and you're always going to leave much to be desired when you're talking about making a sci-fi epic with that kind of budget, because it wasn't just the special effects budget that might have been affected, even though, wow, it was really good. You get a different level of screenwriter, you get a different level of, type of thing. But I had fun with it. I still got the fourth walrus name too, by the way. Yeah, Christian is Father of the Year, his father figure. Did you see dude, the thing he did with Antonio Inoki was hilarious. He's like, they lost their grandfather. Dude, it's like a night honoring him. She's just, and he did his press scrum, and he stayed in character. And I'm like, if I couldn't, I was cracking up. And then also MJF did a press scrum, and he actually I thought went out of character a little bit. So I was like, wow, okay, like I said, I don't usually watch those press scrums because they piss me off, but yeah, is last week tonight back? I know I know Seth Meyers and all the other ones are coming back. Let's see, because yeah, we need those bad. Let's see. I'm looking at my TV guide right now. 10/2/23. Yep, they're back. John Mayer's on. I'm not watching that, but let's see. Seth Meyers. Seth Meyers is on. Yeah. So yeah, they're back. If last week tonight's back, I need to watch it. It's been too long. That guy bounces out my week. Yeah, John Oliver. Yeah, he's hilarious, dude. He is just great. Mm. Young Bucks got butthurt when actual big stars come in and take the attention away from their highlight show. Listen, and I love the Young Bucks, but you guys have heard me say how I felt about how them and Kenny Omega and the Elite handled this. Regular wrestlers, regular just, and I know it doesn't matter that the fact that they're EVPs and name name only at this point because Tony Khan does the booking doesn't matter. Name only still counts. You are still the founding members of the company. You are the ones that are. You are half the reason why the company is still there. You have an example to say you are part of leadership no matter what, and to not sit down and talk with CM Punk, to not de-escalate that situation. That's what executives do. That's what the bosses do. And they, between them and Tony Khan, the CM Punk situation was poorly, poorly handled, and it made them look bad. It made them look bad, and it made the whole company look bad. Now, like I said, the only thing that saved them from getting out of that without too much damage is the fact that they put on shit like they put on last night. The one thing that no matter what's going on with AEW, out of the ring with whatever goofiness is going on, it doesn't matter well, it does matter, but you forget it when you watch what they put on last night. You forget it when you watch Forbidden Door. You forget it when you watch all. I mean, you forget all that. You forget it when you hear Edge's music coming in. I mean, they have such a good product that they can get away with some of this chicanery, but eventually they're gonna have to fix that because, like I said, you got to act like if you're gonna be an executive, or then step. If you can't do that, then step down. You know. William has a 14-year-old inside him confirmed. Oh yeah, yeah, and it comes out a lot of times. It comes out during wrestling. Too late for what? Hmm. One of the best. I don't know if it was the best of the year. Forbidden Door with Kenny Omega and with Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay Part 2. That's still up there for me. Yeah, yeah, and there's like I said, don't spoil it. There's one particular scene that literally was taken from Rogue One. Uh, yeah, Wrestle Dream was amazing. Like I said, there wasn't. You look at Wrestle Dream, and sorry, Wrestling Geeks. I'll only give a couple more minutes, but I know I have some of my Wrestling Geeks in here. But when you look at the matches and you go down, I mean, like I said, there were too many matches in my opinion. But the ones we got, I mean, and there was stuff that, like I said, well, I'm sorry, Wilma Yuta, but I could do without your match. It was a good match, but there was 14 matches on this card. There was four. That's too many. Athena, Billy Stark. So during the Dark Hour, that one, the Shane Taylor one, the Claudio Castagnoli with John Moxley defeated Josh Barnett. But see, these were all during the Dark Hour. So and then you open up with MJF defeats the Righteous One. I thought was an entertaining match. But I didn't know if that needed to be on the pay per view. That's fine. Eddie Kingston defeated Shibata, which was a very, very good match. It was 11 minutes. Chris Stanlander defeated Julia Hart, which was in a very good match. A very good match. Julia Hart is getting better and better and better as a wrestler and as this whole Undertaker thing that she's doing. Really enjoyed that match. Young Bucks. Matt and Nick Jackson defeated the Lucha Brothers. Penta and Phoenix, the Guns and Orange Cassidy and Hook. That match was great. There was a lot going on in that match, and they made that exciting, and I enjoyed that match. Swerve Strickland and that match I wasn't a big deal of, but they did a lot of big build up on it, so you had to have it. Ricky Starks defeated Wheeler Yuta by pinfall. This match did not to be on the pay per view, but it was only 10 minutes. Brian Danielson defeated Zack Sabre Jr., which was one of the matches I was wanting to watch the pay per view for. It was great. The Don Callis family. Now this is the match that I really didn't. This match was 22. This is the Golden Elite. This match wasn't as good as I thought. Takeshita, Will Ospreay, and Sammy Guevara versus Chris Jericho, the Golden Elite, Kenny Omega, and Kota Ibushi. I didn't think any of these guys put the best match on, and that match, it's all right. FTR defeated Aussie Open by pinfall, and it just every time these guys get in the ring, even Aussie Open, but every time they got in the ring 1 year from yesterday when they did Royal Quest 2 last year, and that's why they did this. And it was one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen, and I've seen 40 years of tag team matches. Christian Cage defeated Darby Allin. This was actually a really good match. This was a main event level match. It was for the TNT title, not the world, not the biggest title in the world, but they put on a hell of a match. They tore up the ring. Darby Allin, I don't know how he's still alive. He hit shit and bounced off of shit that had me worried. And every time he took one of these crazy ass bumps, I'm like, please move your leg or something like that so I know you're alive. And he would. And 49-year-old Christian Cage was taking hits too. So these guys put it out, and then obviously the end of the match, which it was real. So this pay-per-view was great. This pay-per-view was great. You're seeing Wrestle Dream tomorrow, or are you saying no? I won't spoil. Creator for you. Oh yes, that's the best news I heard all day. There is not a lot of stuff you can take your kids to. Anytime a kids movie comes out, I expect it to do well because it's safe. It's and you're going to get multiple people. Saw you're taking your date to. Paw Patrol you can take your family to. You ain't taking your family unless it was my family when we were kids to Saw. But yeah, you can. And Creator, like I said, it's unfortunate. I think Creator is going to make its money back by the end of its run, on all formats. But plus, like I said, it's a cheap movie, so I'm not too bad. But I enjoy Creator. I am not seeing Saw. I know the horror guy is not seeing Saw. I told you I can't do it. I can't do the high thing. I was supposed to watch The Creator on Friday morning, but overslept. At least my ticket went to the box office numbers. What are your thoughts on Gun comment in continuity Peacemaker season 2? One will be explained. Okay, so like I said, until I hear more from him, and I guess I'm not. I don't think he's doing a complete full reboot. I think he's going to do what I've been saying before, and it's a term people look at me like I've grown goat horns. When it's a term, it's something that's been being used for a long time. Selective realignment. He's going to take the elements that he thinks he can move forward with, but he's not necessarily going to blow up everything else. I think he will leave the door open for some of these other stories to be finished. They may not be anytime soon, but there's no reason for him to destroy it. Just like when we talked about with Crisis, there is no reason for them to destroy those other worlds to consolidate that and make that simpler. All you have to do is tell the story from your perspective. If you got 10 universes and one of them is yours, you tell your universe story from that, and you leave. Like I said, I just put out a tweet. I think that they should keep these doors open because it gives people space and room to do different things without destroying the others. So I think that's what he's going to end up doing. But at the same time, Peacemaker 2 is a long ways away. I don't think Peacemaker 2 is coming out until after the first chapters of God's Monsters, correct? Somebody correct me in the chat room if I'm wrong. I'm just, when I hear stuff like this, I'm like, okay, cool. That sounds intriguing. But it's so far away, and I just don't have the emotional energy right now to jump off the diving board into another pool when I don't know if there's going to be water in it or not. So this is all long away. Once I start seeing more of it, I start seeing stills maybe once I start, and even then, I'm just going to take a wait and see attitude. I think from what I can understand, from my knowledge of comics and how he he appreciates certain, certain types of certain mechanisms of comic book storytelling. I don't think he's going to blow this up entirely, but I don't know what the hell he's going to do. So nothing's changed for me. Even though the creator treads familiar waters, the task of making an original theatrical movie is still to be commended in this risk-averse climate in studios. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I thought that they recycled a lot of stuff, but they did it well. Christian Cage would have been right there with heels from the '80s. Makes fans want to put their fist to the TV like Don Morocco. You know who he really reminded me of, and not in similar form or similar context or anything else, but as far as the emotion that he emits and has no problem, taking the heat. The Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik was an Iranian in the '80s during the hostage crisis, and he never let up that role. He kept that role all the way through the Iraq War. But while we had hostages for 444 some odd days, I mean, in Iran, when the Ayatollah, all this stuff was happening. He was an immigrant. He became an American citizen. But he was rolling around, town, and going to shows, playing this character that everybody hated. He got death threats over, things like that. But this is what Christian is doing. It reminds me, because you don't see a lot of people bring the dead into their conversation. Nick Wayne's father passed away, and Kristen brings it up, and I'm like, wow, dude. And he brings up texting his mom and all this, and they're in on it. I think his mom is actually going to turn heel, but just imagine being creative enough to sit down with the family and say, this is where I want to go with this, to the point where they're like, okay, let's go. But he's definitely on the level right now, and he makes that title mean something. The two guys who made the TNT title mean something were in the ring with each other last night, and I'm glad to see that, because I always worry about so many titles and they don't mean shit. Yep, hit the smash, hit the like, spread my religion. Like I said, we got to crack back into the YouTube algorithms. Like I said, they're doing some really weird stuff. How you doing, Lexi J? Edge debuted, surpassed CM Punk. It's the highest reach ever for an AEW debut, and it surpassed CM Punk's debut by 48%. Wow, I didn't see the numbers. But the way Edge, here's the thing though, and I with CM Punk, he'd been gone for 7 years, so a lot of people, hardcore guys like me were like, when we're your culture personality, we lose our minds. I remember watching it with Enosh. We were watching it on Point Extra Lounge, and I had it playing in the thing, and we were all watching it, and it was big for us. But Edge, it's literally just wrestled the match not too long ago with Sheamus. I mean, Edge has been, fighting the Judgment Day with his life. I mean, he's been on pay-per-views, on pay-per-view matches. He's been an active wrestler, like as recently as a few months ago. And then, bam, here he is. And the fact that Christian is there, the fact that the Hardy Boy, it just was cool. I had an idea that might help your views, potentially timestamps. I know they usually go over well with the audience. Yeah, I do need to get with you on that. That's something else I want to do too, because like I said, that a lot of people just want to get. Some people only want to, they're not interested in Def Leppard. They're interested in the Crisis, or they're interested in it's one of the thumbnails, but necessarily all thumbnails. So yeah, it is time consuming, but I need to do it. Nothing will overtop early '90s wrestling. '80s are iconic, no doubt, but wrestling was revolutionized in the early '90s. Yeah. I mean, I can't argue with that. I mean, I could give you different eras as far as I think nothing will touch the '80s, and I'm not just talking about the Rock and Wrestling. I'm talking about NWA, Ric Flair at its height, Midnight Express, Bobby Heenan. FTR was watching wrestling in the '80s. That's how much of influence it was. Yeah, now look at it. I mean, everybody DVRs everything. So nobody even watches it live anymore. HW got enough eye torture with Howard the Duck. Yeah, I did. Oh, he got enough. Yeah, I did. I mean, I've watched those individuals under different names in the Ring of Honor. They're pretty intense. I always enjoy them. They're never really like the top of anything, but they're a good foil to have around. Vinny's he's crazy. For real, if I had it had me switching channels every 10, 20 minutes, really bought the best out of both WCW and WF. Good time for wrestling fans. Yeah, until AOL's purchase of WCW and Turner Broadcasting and Time Warner and all that ruined wrestling for the next 25 years. As Tech, I remember when WCW would read the results of WJ bouts because they were still scripted. Yeah. Billy Starks and Nick Wayne are becoming the youngest. Yep, I saw this youngest male and female professional wrestlers to wrestle on a mainstream wrestling pay per view. They're both 18 years old. Yep, I saw that. After Eddie Guerrero died, I stopped watching, not necessarily because of his death, because it just wasn't good anymore for me. And never looked back at all. I always remember the Monday Night Wars. I thought that product started to go bad overall. There's still great moments in WWE and WWF, and there's still great performances that are there today. But overall, watchability, I thought that product started to go bad in late 1998, 1999. Yeah, you had the Attitude Era and everything else, but the rest of the show, I mean, you basically made your bones off of Steve Austin that couldn't move anymore. I got to watch Steve Austin when was Stunning Steve, and he was in good shape before he blew out both knees and his neck. Um, but yeah, there was once into the late '90s and going into 2000s. It's since then it just hasn't been a very good product for me. I know it still makes money and it still sells out places, but as somebody who watched it in all its forms, I can compare eras that were way better than the one we're going through now. Remember when Rick Rude appeared in both Raw and WCW at the same time? Yeah, Rick Rude did that. Lex Luger did that the same night. Thoughts on Al Snow? An excellent wrestling mind, an excellent trainer. That guy does a lot. I mean, remember when he used to walk around with the head? But he's a backstage agent, and when you look up Wikipedia under a lot of wrestlers, Al Snow's trained a lot of people. Daniel Martin, WWE really blew the NWO. Yeah, the invasion was stupid. And the reason why it didn't work is because a lot of the talent that would have made the invasion work didn't sign with WWE when they bought him. Like Sting was signed to Turner. He was signed to AOL. His contract wasn't with WCW. Goldberg's contract wasn't with WCW. They were being paid directly by the parent company. And so when they didn't sell their contracts to them and they decided Sting waited 15, 16 years to go, Goldberg eventually came over, but he had leverage. He took them for all their money. I think WWE blew a lot of stuff after there was no WCW. I think they blew an entire era. Before long, Christian will be back tossing salt into the eyes, or King Kong Bundy's demand for the refs to use a 5 count instead of 3. Yeah, it'll be King Kong Bundy was great. That's a big dude. All right, Al Snow has some great YouTube wrestling instructional vision, no doubt. He's a hell of yeah, and his school, dude. So many people have gone through his school, and when you think a lot of these guys that are not like the top of the card guys, or not the Ric Flairs or the Hulk Hogan's or the Shawn Michaels or Roman Reigns, all these guys. A lot of these mid carders are the ones that are holding up. They're the ones doing the training. They're the ones that because they know it all. They watch it all. I mean, they'll go in and get their asses kicked in the ring and get squash matches. But in real life, these guys know the game. They so many of these people, the Dean Malenkos, all these guys, they know it so well that you see them training people, and that's why when you go to wrestling shows, you'll see these guys walking around. They're wearing suits now, or they're wearing just regular polo shirts because even though they never made it into the pay per view, they are still the backbone of the training apparatus. So, oops, didn't do my thing with the Streamlabs. All right, guys, how long have I been on? I've been on for 48 minutes, so I guess I'll give it another about 12 minutes or so before I go eat my food. I'm going to go see Exorcist Believers tomorrow. A believer. Looks good. Looks like it might be the best one since since Exorcist 3, because Exorcist 2 doesn't exist. 9 days. There we go. All right. Haven't decided on what I think our next Patreon watch along, like I said, will be Blue Beetle. So I think I might do that. I don't know. What my schedule is going to be kind of wacky the next couple of weeks, guys. Our Saturday show, I am still going to do a Saturday show, but it's not going to be. It's not going to start till later on. So I'm just giving you the heads up. Um, there will be some more daytime streams too, but my schedule is going to be kind of wacky. Also, it's October. So October is a big month for me. So with Halloween and some of the events we have going on, rehearsals for said events, work schedule. So you're going to see me popping up at some weird times, but I will do my best to keep some type of schedule for you guys. What is Arn Anderson working my wrestling pants on? Really, really high. He's what kept me in wrestling for a while. He was the balance of the Four Horsemen. He was every time Ric Flair would give his sermon, his church sermon, Arn Anderson would come and give an equally great speech, but it was just in a different tone. And he's just always been there for the times I thought wrestling was great. I mean, his tag team, he obviously Tully and Arn, but he also teamed up with Bobby Eaton and won the tag team championship too with the Dangerous Alliance. But he just has a lot of wealth of knowledge. Just hearing him talk, listening to his his interviews, he's great. Fun the Hills back when then was something else. Yep. And like I said, MJF, if you watch the media scrum, he explains how he gets emotions out of a crowd. And he's a great one too. MJF is a generational talent. So I hope he stays with AEW forever. All right, guys. It is now 50 minutes in. It's been a Midnight Express, so let's keep it short. So let's go ahead and yeah, it's starting to get more. I've seen people do a lot of YouTube shows about it. So yeah. All right. So what we are going to do is we are going to go out the same way we came in. 988 Suicide Crisis Lifetime 24/7. Call, text, or chat. You just never know. It's 1:00 in the morning, which means it's like 2 or 3, 3 somewhere else. 4:00 somewhere else in the morning. You just a lot of these things happen when the brain slows down and it starts to dwell on that other stuff. So while you're dwelling on that, dwell on these 3 numbers, pick up the phone 24/7. Somebody is there. Somebody. I wish we had this for some of the people I know that didn't have any of these things back. I've been people in high school, people that I've known in the last 7, 8, 9 years that have committed suicide. Some of the big names. Who knows? You could be a billionaire, and obviously, what they're doing is not working if they're thinking about this. So, hey, I would have given my right arm for a resource, a 24/7 resource that you could call, text, or chat to be available. Some of my friends would be alive. Some of my army buddies would still be alive. So it's here now. So instead of dwelling on the past, let's make sure that some people have a future. All right, guys, that is it for me. I'm going to eat my food. I'm going to go watch Exorcist tomorrow, and I'll probably do a straight out of the theater review. I should have done one on Creator, but it was 3 days after it came out, so I figured it was too late. So, all right, guys, I will definitely see you tomorrow at some point. Enjoy the beginning of your week.